Welcome to the Facilitators Deep Dive Podcast, your podcast on your way to facilitation mastery. All right, everyone, ready to dive in. Today we're looking at something called impromptu networking.
Ooh, that sounds interesting.
It is. It's one of those liberating structures, which are kind of like frameworks, I guess you could say, for having more effective group interactions.
I like it.
Yeah. And we're using excerpts from their website as our source material for this deep dive.
Okay, cool.
And I got to say, when I first saw the name, I thought it sounded kind of formal.
Like a little stuffy.
Yeah, like a stuffy business networking thing.
Right, right.
But trust me, this structure is like surprisingly simple.
Really?
And it only takes like 20 minutes.
Okay, so like perfect for people who, don't have a lot of time but still want to connect with others.
Exactly.
I like.
So what's really fascinating about impromptu networking is that it tackles this problem that I think we all face.
Which is?
How do you get a group of people, especially if they don't know each other, to connect in a meaningful way, like really quickly?
Right, because like traditional networking events can be so awkward sometimes.
Yeah, totally. And impromptu networking kind of cracks the code for that.
How so?
Well, it's built on 5 core elements, but before we get into the nitty-gritty,
Okay.
the real magic here is that it helps people find common ground.
Common ground, okay.
By focusing on shared challenges, which then leads to faster solutions and stronger connections.
So instead of just like small talk and exchanging business cards, you're actually like digging into real issues.
Exactly. And just imagine a room full of people all buzzing with energy.
Yeah.
Deeply engaged in these conversations, all within a short time frame.
Yeah, that sounds amazing.
That's the power of this structure.
Okay, but you mentioned 5 elements, right?
Yeah. And it all starts with this really clear, engaging invitation.
Okay, like what?
Something like, what big challenge are you bringing to this gathering?
Okay.
What do you hope to get from and give to this group or community?
I like that. It's not just about taking, it's about contributing too.
Yeah, exactly. It sets the stage for a collaboration.
Right, from the start.
Right.
So what happens next? Do people just like stand around awkwardly?
Not at all. The next elements are space and configuration.
Okay.
So you need an open space.
Okay.
So people can easily move around.
Got it.
And the configuration is really simple. It's pairs.
Pairs, interesting.
Yeah. And each person gets equal time to talk, no matter how big the group is.
So is it kind of like speed dating for ideas?
Kind of, yeah. You have 3 rounds of these paired conversations.
Okay.
And each person in the pair gets 2 minutes.
2 minutes? That's not very long.
No, it's not.
Okay.
To respond to that initial challenge question.
That initial, yeah.
What challenge are you bringing to this gathering?
Okay, so it's all about like sparking those initial connections and finding things that you're both passionate about.
Yeah, exactly.
2 minutes is not a lot of time, though.
Yeah.
I'm curious how much you can actually get done.
I know, right? But it forces people to be concise. And you'd be surprised how much ground you can cover in 2 minutes.
Yeah, I guess when you have a time limit, you really have to focus.
Exactly.
It's like a pressure cooker for creativity.
Totally. And that's kind of why I think they call it a liberating structure.
Okay. How so?
It's freeing people from those long-winded introductions and
Yeah.
the formalities and getting right to what matters.
I see. So you're like unlocking that curiosity and talent by focusing on the challenges people are actually facing.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. And I bet it leads to more engagement too, right? Because people are talking about things they're genuinely passionate about.
Exactly. And it helps people find solutions faster because you're tapping into the collective wisdom of the group.
Instead of just like working in isolation.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I have to admit, sometimes those structured networking events can feel a little forced.
Yeah, for sure.
Like not very genuine. What makes this different?
Oh, I think it's because it focuses on like genuine challenges,
Yeah.
And that rapid fire format, it just doesn't give people time to like put up their walls.
Right.
Or get bogged down in like formalities and stuff. It's about creating that space for like authentic connection and shared purpose,
Yeah, that's a good point. So it's less about like networking in the traditional sense and more about just like finding common ground and tackling challenges.
Exactly.
I like that. The website mentions this word serendipity.
Okay.
What do they mean by that?
That's like one of the coolest things about impromptu networking is, when you bring together all these diverse perspectives and you encourage people to share openly, you create this like fertile ground for serendipitous discoveries.
I see what you mean.
Those aha moments.
Yeah.
That come from like unexpected connections.
Yeah. I can see that.
You know?
Like, think about a time when you had a random conversation with somebody. And it sparked a great idea.
Yeah.
And it's like, how can we create more of those moments in our work and our personal lives?
Totally.
Impromptu networking is like one way to do that.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, so let's get practical for a minute. The source material highlighted some tips and traps.
Yes.
Can you walk us through those?
Yeah, so one of the big tips is to use open-ended questions that invite participants to shape the conversation.
Okay, so instead of saying, like, what's your biggest challenge?
Right.
You might say, what's a challenge you're facing that you're really fired up to solve?
Exactly. You want to tap into that energy.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know, that passion.
Yeah.
And another tip is to just keep it playful, you know?
Yeah.
And encourage experimentation. You don't want impromptu networking to feel like rigid or forced, you know?
Yeah, totally.
Like, it should feel like a safe space where people can like share openly.
So no pressure to be perfect. Just show up, ready to connect.
Exactly.
Speaking of connecting, the source material mentioned this real-world example with judges, lawyers, and social workers.
Oh, yeah. That's a really interesting one.
That sounds intense.
It is. It was this facilitator named Tim Jasko Fisher.
Okay.
And he used impromptu networking to bring together this very diverse group to tackle challenges in the child welfare system.
Wow.
So think about it. You've got judges, lawyers, clerks, social workers.
Yeah.
These people come from very different perspectives.
Yeah.
They don't always see eye to eye.
Right.
So it's a really interesting case study.
I'm really curious what came out of those conversations.
Well, through impromptu networking, they were able to find common ground.
Really?
Which is amazing, right? And they started to work towards solutions.
Wow.
They discovered shared challenges, you know?
Wow.
And they started seeing things from each other's perspectives.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It sounds like those conversations could have easily turned into like a heated debate.
Oh, I'm sure there were moments of tension, but, you know, that's also part of the process.
Okay.
Impromptu networking, it allows for that, like, respectful disagreement and productive conflict, which can lead to, like, really innovative solutions.
Yeah, it's like that saying, if two people agree on everything, one of them is unnecessary.
Exactly.
So we've talked about the theory. We've seen it in action.
Right.
But how can I use impromptu networking in my own life?
Yeah. What about you?
What stands out to you about it?
Yeah.
And how could you adapt it to your own context?
Right. Like, think about your next team meeting.
Yeah.
A community event, even a family gathering.
Yeah.
Could impromptu networking help you unlock that collective wisdom?
Ooh, that's a good point.
Yeah.
I can definitely see this working for, like, my next team meeting. You know?
Yeah.
We're always brainstorming new ideas, and this would be a fun way to, like, get everybody's creative juices flowing.
Totally.
You know, the source material mentions that you can combine impromptu networking with other liberating structures.
Yes, you can.
What does that mean?
So liberating structures are kind of like modular building blocks. You can combine them in different ways to achieve different outcomes. So think of it this way. You use impromptu networking to spark those initial connections.
Okay.
Identify the big challenges, and then you use another structure, like 15% solutions, to figure out those small practical steps.
15% solutions?
Yes.
What's that?
It's all about empowering people to take action.
Okay.
Even in small ways.
Right.
Rather than getting stuck in like analysis paralysis.
I see.
So instead of waiting for the perfect solution or getting bogged down in bureaucracy. People identify actions they can take right now.
Okay, so it's about taking those initial sparks from impromptu networking and turning them into real action.
Exactly. You're creating this continuous flow of energy and action.
I love that.
And it's self-organizing, you know? You're not dictating solutions. You're creating the space for them to emerge.
This is blowing my mind. I'm starting to see how these liberating structures can be like a game changer.
Oh, yeah.
For all sorts of groups.
Yeah.
Businesses, schools, community organizations, even families.
Absolutely.
The possibilities are endless.
Yeah.
It's like you're giving people a new language for collaboration.
Totally.
A toolbox for unlocking their potential.
That's a great way to put it.
I'm already brainstorming ways to use these structures.
Me too.
In my own work and life.
Yeah.
What about you?
Yeah, definitely.
What's your biggest takeaway from our deep dive into impromptu networking?
I think for me, it's just, you know, the reminder that We don't need all these fancy tools or strategies to have really great collaboration.
Totally.
Sometimes the simplest approaches are the most effective.
Yeah.
And I think impromptu networking really proves that.
It really highlights how, like, even small changes in how we interact can have, like, big results.
Right.
We get stuck in our routines and our ways of doing things. And impromptu networking is like this way to just, like, break free from that.
Totally.
And create space for something new.
It's like shaking up a snow globe and watching the flakes settle in this, like, totally new pattern.
Yeah.
Who knows what brilliant ideas or connections are just hiding.
Yeah.
Just waiting for the right structure to bring them to the surface.
That's a great analogy.
And it speaks to the power of experimentation,
Totally.
So we really encourage everyone listening
to
give impromptu networking a try.
Yeah, be curious, be playful.
Yeah.
See what happens.
And let us know how it goes.
Yes. Connect with us on social media, share your stories. We'd love to hear about it.
Yeah, we love hearing from our listeners.
Always.
And seeing how they're using these ideas in their lives.
Well, this brings us to the end of our deep dive into impromptu networking.
Sad to see it go.
I know, it went by so fast.
It did.
But big thanks to you for, sharing your expertise with us and just making this topic so engaging.
Of course.
And all of our amazing listeners out there. We hope you've walked away with some valuable takeaways.
We do.
From this deep dive.
Remember, even small changes can unlock huge potential.
So go out there, shake things up, try impromptu networking, and see what connections and ideas are waiting for you.
Exactly.
See you next time on the Facilitators Deep Dive Podcast, your podcast on your way to facilitation mastery. Until next time.
See you then.